Okay, greetings everyone. It is I, Aquas, and we have another episode of Awesome Game Replays. This is going to be episode number 9. And this week we're covering a few different games. Two different games, then different versions. Yeah, so we're actually going to be looking at Castle of Dragon / Dragon Unit on the NES and the arcade, and we're going to be looking at 1cc of Castle of Dragon on the arcade by Iast, and we'll also be looking at the TAS of the arcade, and we'll also be looking at the TAS of the NES Castle of Dragon as well, aka Dragon Unit. And then after that, we're going to look at the TAS of Sword Master, which is the sequel to Castle of Dragon. I think I may have messed up the order there, but we will have an order. Right now, I got the arcade version just playing on the stream right now. But yeah, so we're pretty excited to check out this episode. Our special guests are SRKFunkdoc and Iast. Welcome, guys.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And yeah, so I personally have never really heard of these games before, but yeah, at first impression, they look pretty just freaking bonkers. I just watched Medusa crumble into blood and guts there. That was pretty sweet. So Funkdoc, do you want to talk about how you first got into Castle of Dragon and kind of what brought you to wanting to TAS the game, I suppose, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that after, generally about the game as well. I'm just trying to get the foot going.
Yep. Okay, so story for me is before my family even had an NES, I first played it at a friend's house, and they had a bunch of different games for it, and I got to see, Mario and Duck Hunt, obviously. The original Castlevania was one, but Castle of Dragon was also one of the games that they had for whatever reason. So just, getting to play that as a kid, it stuck out of my mind. I had no idea, what a good or a bad game was at the time, but it just always stood out to me for that reason, and I remembered it from that. And so that was what led to me looking for led to me TASing was TAS videos when it first started in 2004. I had long followed speedrunning because I'm a big fan of Doom, and so I kept up with that community, which Doom was one of the first ever full-blown speedrunning communities, and they were also the community that first created tool-assisted speedrunning, TASing. So I knew about it from them. And so my interest was piqued when I saw that emulators could do this stuff with with various consoles. And I looked for obscure games that nobody else would think to do. And so Castle of Dragon was one that struck me as a game that would be a simple task and, would be something no one else would do. So that was one of my first ever tasks I did. And out of all my tasks from 2004, that one actually took the longest for anyone else to beat, just because nobody else cares about the game, I guess. But anyway, so that led me to searching for info on the game once I did that, and that's how I learned about the existence of the arcade version. And as we will discuss later, I actually had the high score record on MARP Main Action Replay for Arcade Castle of Dragon. And Swordmaster, the last game mentioned here, I played that as a kid as well. In fact, my parents actually bought that game for me. We ended up returning it because it was too hard for me at the time. And it is a pretty darn hard game. We'll get into that one. But yeah, that's what led to me looking toward that as one of my early games to TAS as well.
So yeah, that's pretty steeped in the whole history of the TAS stuff and kind of the culture around MARP and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to hear about that you got into it back then. Iast, what about you? How did you figure out about this game, or what got you interested?
Well, I tangentially knew about the NES version mostly because it shows up on so many top 10 worst NES games of all time lists, that kind of thing. And I vaguely knew about the existence of the arcade version, but until I just randomly played it in MAME one day, I didn't really know much about it. And then
Okay.
I just kind of started playing it.
So when you found out it was an arcade game, was it just like you were browsing something and then you saw like, oh, this is an arcade game, or was it like information that you seeked out? I suppose.
I think basically I was just like bored one day and going through my main folder, and I saw Castle of Dragon listed. I was like, I wonder if this is like anything like the infamous NES game.
Right. Because I feel like
and
that's
I started
like...
playing it and found it.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it's like, I wonder if this is familiar. And I started playing. It's like, wow, this is a whole different beast altogether.
Right, because I feel like that's like kind of a big gateway for people to get into arcade games, because there's so many arcade ports on the NES, and like you maybe you knew it was an arcade game, maybe you didn't. What the hell is this? It's credits, man.
Yeah, the arcade credits are amazing.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
There was like the develop.
Take
Who
it
was
easy.
that? But
So
okay, so that's pretty cool. So we're gonna start out looking at the what were we planning on? Was it the NES TAS, or
Yeah.
let me check my order here.
Yeah, the NES TAS.
The NES TAS. Okay, so we're gonna look at the NES TAS of Castle of Dragon first, and you said you did the TAS for this at one point, FunkDoc, but it was beaten here. By Adeli Cat and Randall. I'm not sure why it's two names.
2 people worked on it.
Just okay.
Yeah, it's really common for TASs to be like collaborative efforts, especially nowadays when they take a lot. There's a lot more work put into them than there was back in 2004. So you're much more likely to see TASs credited to multiple people.
Okay.
Yeah, and Al the Cat, for those who don't know, he's one of the organizers of TASvideos.org, and he's also the person who showed off NES Pod at the last couple Games Done Quick marathons.
Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. That's pretty neat. Okay, so FunkDoc, why don't you talk about the TAS of Castle of Dragon, a little bit about it before we watch it, and kind of what went into it, I guess, a little bit.
Okay, so this is going to be really funny to you, but the Castle of Dragon TAS in particular it really doesn't have much to do with how modern TASing goes, to be honest. Like I said, I think it was either the first or second TAS I ever did. It was that and YY World in some order. But the Castle of Dragon TAS in particular, so I never even used frame advance for that one. That's how basic this was back then. Because normally with TASs, you play the game frame by frame, like pausing, and you can input a command to move the game forward exactly 1 frame and so on, so you can get perfect inputs and manipulation and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I did not do that. I just played it at really, really slow speeds and just kept reloading until I got something that looked optimal. And that was more or less how I did it, and went through it. It's a very simple game. I mean, as we'll explain when we watch it, it's mostly just one-on-one mini-boss and boss fights with boring walking/jumping sequences between those. So there's not a whole lot to the game relative to a lot of others, but you still have to optimize the boss fights, of course. Not too rough, but there's some tricky moments there. The main weird thing about the game for TASing, something I still don't entirely understand, is how the power-ups work and how to make them last longer, because it always just seemed random to me. So
Now, before you go more on that, actually, could you talk a little bit about generally about how the game plays in terms of like powers and stuff like that?
Okay, well, plays will be used in a rather loose sense since this is the NES game we're talking about here, but basically what you do is it's literally just walk to the right. Walk or jump, you fight some pathetic normal enemies that have barely any consequence whatsoever, and run into a mini-boss. And you fight that mini-boss, beat him, and walk forward, do the same thing until you get to another mini-boss, and just do that until you reach the boss of each stage.
Okay.
They do give you a few different weapons over the course of the game, as well as a couple power-ups, as I hinted at earlier, to, try to keep it a little bit interesting. And there's also the fact that in the NES version, you can choose which order to do the stages in the castle itself. And there's something really nasty with that trips up a lot of players, where it's possible to go to the final boss stage right away, and you'll just die instantly when you get there, because you have to get all of the items from the other castle stages first.
Okay. I see. Okay, did you want to go back to what you're talking about with the TAS, or I think we should get into it?
I think we should just get into it at this point,
Okay.
honestly.
Let's do it.
A nice Bioforce 8 prototype there, by the way, with that one boss.
Bioforce Ape, oh god. Alright, so I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1 click countdown, and let's check out the Castle of Dragon TAS by Delicat and Randall. Alright, you guys ready?
Yep.
Alright.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Like that little watermelon dingo or whatever.
So yes, this was 1989. Keep in mind, like, I mean, if you just think, like, if you were to look at this game without knowing, what year would you think this was made? I'd say like 86 or something, maybe. Anyway, he killed the first mini boss, and that's the flame sword power up, which is the most common one, which shoots these flame projectiles that can do a lot of damage to bosses, and it only stops hurting enemies when they're pushed off the screen. The fairy that just appeared there restores your health if you jump into her, and that was the first boss. He is like a wizard who shoots projectiles and stuff, but you didn't get to see any of that because he manipulated it to keep the flame power up the entire stage, which is the tricky part that I never understood how to pull it off. It seemed to me generally like if you jumped, you would have a better chance of keeping the power up, but I'm not sure how true that is. Anyway, this is a boss you actually have to fight without a power up with just your generic vanilla sword. So
why do you lose the power up?
Because at the end of the stage.
Oh,
or
okay.
just time. Time at the end of the stage. Anyway, this level, so the blue power up there is lightning, which just instantly kills things. It's much rarer than the flame one, obviously, but also not random and much more powerful.
What the fuck?
But it also lasts shorter. As you can see, he already lost the lightning power up. So now, for beating the stage 2 boss, you get daggers. So that's what he was using there, because the daggers attack much more quickly than the sword. You can fire them much faster. And there's flame power up again, so he's going to keep it all the way through the boss fight here. This guy is annoying. You take constant damage from enemies if they just run into you. And the game also loves to drop your inputs when you're getting attacked or just there's any kind of slowdown. Anyway, for beating that giant bull boss or minotaur or whatever, you get the mace, which is the strongest of your 3 normal weapons. The mace, it's shorter range than the throwing dagger, obviously, and it also randomly hurts yourself sometimes.
Okay, good.
So you have to be careful with that. But as you're going to see a lot of mace through the rest of the game now, unless you get flame power-ups and you manipulate them.
Now, I see a lot of these like shallow jumps. What's going on with those?
Just to attack while still moving.
Oh, okay.
And also to not get pushed back from attacks as much.
I see.
Yeah, so this game has what Macau would call generation, as in there's no hit stun for basically anything. So while things are grinding against each other, you're just taking constant damage.
Right.
Which is why this flame attack is doing what it is.
Yeah, seems to be just active on it the whole
final
time.
boss time. Or no, not a boss, but this is a boss. So yeah, we get bosses on a blank black screen.
Dude, that's the classic style right there.
Yep, and that's it. Just throw daggers from a distance, attack with the mace when you get close, and that's it. That blue dragon, he'll like kill you pretty much instantly if he actually like makes contact with you. So
Great.
You have to stay away from him, but his pattern is completely fixed. It's the same every time, so not that bad at all once you get used to it.
Wow, that water is beautiful in the background. Not being sarcastic, really.
Yep, though platforming. This game
Wow.
goes to hell to actually play when you get platforming involved, because as I mentioned, this game is really bad when it comes to dropping your inputs, so...
So, like, will you be holding the jump button and then it just goes down?
It doesn't come out at all.
It doesn't come out?
Yep.
Okay.
And again, manipulating the flame power up to keep the entire stage, to keep for the entire stage. Again, this gave me fits when I was doing the task, so I'm not sure how, to what degree any sort of manipulation is practical for a real run. The only person I know of who's tried to do a real speed run of this game is Ultra J-Man. I don't know if anyone else ever has. So now these stages, after the stage where you got the mace, you can do these castle stages in any order. So as I mentioned earlier, the one in the middle is the final boss stage, but you have to save that for last. Also, the harpies. These get really annoying when you have to fight them around platforms and stuff, especially for speedrunning because the mace is just so much quicker than any other way of fighting them. And it's just dangerous because, again, little range, you're fighting on, you're fighting close to pits and risk getting pushed into them.
I do like the mace weapon. It seems like it's satisfying to use in the game because it just that active effect.
Yeah, the mace actually is pretty cool when it's not hurting you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like this doesn't do the same thing as the arcade version, where with the mace in the arcade version, if it goes like around an enemy, it'll pull the enemy into you and just instantly kill you.
Oh, we got the chicken dragon now.
That's the design, alright.
That's nice.
So this boss likes to jump to the left and go back to the right and shoot fireballs, but I'm not sure if it's manipulation or just beating him that fast that he kills him before he gets to jump at all, but there you go, you barely get to see Chicken Dragon do anything. Which is a shame because that's far and away the coolest thing about this game. The fire down there in this stage does not kill you instantly, just so you know. Again, it just damages you it just keeps constantly damages you as long as you're in it, but not too bad. Anyway, you get a lightning power-up in this stage, so it's extra easy, as you can see.
Oh, I see.
So another palette swap with this guy again. He shoots fireballs, if you didn't know. Still not too big of a deal.
What was that about?
So why did
so that was about was you have to lose your armor at this section. You run into a clone of yourself, and you have to lower your health a certain amount in order to kill the clone and get the ultimate armor and everything, which is what you need in order to survive the final boss room. If you go to this boss without having all the items and everything, you'll turn into a frog and just die. That's what frustrates people.
That's some old school design right there.
Yeah. Also, I haven't mentioned this, but this game's hitboxes in general are terrible. And this boss is the worst example of that. Like, I do not understand where that boss's hitbox is. It might actually be different depending on parts of its animation. Because I would hit it in the same place multiple times and it just doesn't do any damage. But that's the final boss, and that was the game.
Wow, she's pretty chesty.
Hey. I forgot about that. But yeah, really, what hurts this game is you notice there's some really weird graphical glitches that you may have noticed. That's not emulation, that's the actual game. And also just, again, the programming, input recognition, the hitboxes on like everything practically. Yeah, this just real janky game all around. There's definitely a reason this gets brought up on a lot of worst NES game lists.
Well, like, watching the TAS, though, it makes it look like a playable game. Like, is it okay casually? I mean...
No, it's not really that playable. It's like normal. The TAS makes it look a lot more playable than it really is.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So, don't worry, folks. The next two games we'll be covering are much, much cooler than this one. You need not to worry.
Yes, much cooler.
So yeah, up next we're gonna go to Iast's one credit clear of the hardest difficulty in the arcade mode. Do you want to preface that a little bit, Iast?
Yes. So, like I was saying before, the arcade version of this is quite a different beast from the NES version in different ways. I would say the general gameplay concept is the same, except the main difference is that the stages are, one, they're a lot shorter. They don't really suffer from the kind of the mini boss formula of the NES version, in that they're actual stages.
Okay.
Yeah, and it plays quite a bit differently from the NES one. In the arcade version, at least on the normal difficulties, you're pretty much not even attacking anything. You're just sort of running through everything and just dealing damage by running into things.
Yeah, so that's another big difference to this game. So in the NES version, you're almost always going at snail's crawl throughout the game. In the arcade version, you do start stuff out going at snail's crawl, but you can actually pick up speed ups, and basically you'll see they're like little blue boot icons that you can uncover. Each of those does increase your speed. I think it caps at like 7 or 8. So once you get to that, you're just like flying through the levels, and like it's just like some of these
Speed
levels,
ups,
it's
huh?
literally
That's crazy.
yeah, these levels it's literally over before you know it.
Yeah, like
Um,
the stage 3 that we'll see is always insane because it's constant movement. It's amazing. Like
Yeah.
there's few arcade platformers that give you this crazy sense of speed, even though it's really glitchy and just kind of junky.
Yeah, this does share. It does share some elements in that it does have some jankiness to it, and like the NES version, hit stun does not exist for anything.
And there's still the power-ups and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they also seem to be somewhat random, like FunkDoc mentioned for the NES version. Like they sometimes just seem to go away without real reason.
I
The
see.
power-ups for the most point, like the power-ups that drop from destructible objects like torches, for example, those are pretty constant. I do know that some enemies can have a random chance to drop power-ups in some locations, but yeah, it's a little more constant with the drops in this version.
Yeah, and pretty much everything is fixed except some enemies. But I mean, like sometimes the power-ups just seem to stop, like being picked up. Like you have like the lightning power-up, and it just seems to go away randomly sometimes for me, at least. I don't know what the deal is. Kind of a weird, just kind of a janky game overall, really. But
Yeah, so the way the power-ups work in this game is a little interesting as well. You basically have two main power-ups. You have the base weapons, which are the sword. There's also the flail and a throwing axe. And then there's two magic weapons, which are the fire sword and lightning sword. And the fire and lightning swords, I believe, run on a timer. I do believe it's a timer at least, or either it's that or number of uses. But they do eventually run out. And then when those weapons run out, it then swaps you to the most powerful base weapon you picked up. So say if you picked up a flail and then the fire sword, after the fire sword use runs out, then it switches you back to the flail.
oh, interesting. I think we can get in the replay now.
All right, why not?
Yeah,
All right.
I think we covered all the basics.
All right, and just as a warning, I'm dropping a couple frames when I play this VOD off of Twitch, so it might chop up a little bit here and there, but it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, this is off of my that I streamed on Twitch. Unfortunately, I don't have a local recording of it, so yeah, heads up.
Also, if you guys wouldn't mind going to 3 seconds for the VOD, because I can't get back to 0 anymore.
That's
Alright.
pretty Twitch quality right there.
And we'll start from 3
Um,
seconds with the help me screen.
All right, I almost got it. Ah,
Yep,
God, this is
I got it.
terrible. All right, well, I think I got it.
Yeah, look at that hand.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty great screen to start the game off with.
Yep.
Okay, so, alright, here we go. Castle of Dragon 1cc, hardest difficulty by Iast. It's going to be a 6-minute run. And by the way, these games we're all looking at today are developed by Athena. So you got that.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yep, who I
might,
believe
Yeah.
also made Astyanax.
yeah,
Oh.
I might go on about how awesome Athena is at the end of this because I
Yep.
love them. But
Sure.
we'll save that for later.
Okay. Alright, countdown. 3, 2, 1, go.
So
All
this
right.
game, yeah.
All right, so yeah, so early starting on here, I'm just gonna be doing a lot of essentially bunny hopping because it's a faster way of movement than your starting base speed, and I'm just kind of going forward here, getting speed ups mostly, and you can see I'm starting to pick up speed at this point. And you have the lightning weapon, which you'll soon see is pretty important.
Yeah, because
Mm.
nothing has hit stun, the lightning weapon just sort of demolishes all the enemies in your way.
Right, yeah. So basically, for bosses, you get the lightning weapon and you just point blank them, and it does so many hits. It's ridiculous.
So this stage here is already a huge switch from the NES game. We have actual spike traps and platforming and things.
There's a lot going on, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, there is a ton going on. This stage in particular is pretty fun to just root for a speed run, because there's so many places where it's useful to stop, but you really don't have to because you can just sort of tank damage through everything. So it's like I can't really state how much fun this is to just route for a speed run. It's just there's so much going on and so many things you can do.
And during the
speaking of-
discussion, we've already reached the end of stage 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yep.
speaking of speed,
It's incredibly fast.
Yep, there's a couple vertical scrolling stages in this game. There's one more later.
Yeah, so this stage is really hard, just like in general and for a speed run, particularly just because of the boss, which I still really haven't found a consistent way to fight yet. It's really difficult. So
yeah, the
if
boss
you could give some
stage.
input on that, Iast, I would be quite curious to hear your general strategy for fighting it.
So as you see here, my general strategy is just to get here with a lightning sword. You can kind of point blank the first guy to kill him off quick. Whoever's remaining does have more health though, so I'm just kind of using save strats and using the lightning range here. There is a backup strat for
Wow.
that guy. Yeah, that's worked pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Oh.
never gotten there with that much lightning sword, so interesting.
And once again, this is another quite short vertical stage. Not really too much in the stage that's dangerous, really.
Also worthwhile to note that you can stack power-ups in this game, sort of. Like, if you pick up multiple, like, you'll get the effect of the most recent one you picked up, and after that, it'll give you the last one you picked up before that with its timer still where it was at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
So that's why
stage-
he's able to get through these stages so quickly and take out the bosses like that, just stacking multiple sword power-ups.
Yeah, and then stage 4 boss, encore there, and then you got these twin dragons.
And now he's using the axe, which is the best of the normal weapons, and it gets more hits and damage up close, like most things in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And-
so the I don't think you'll even see this weapon in any of these replays, but the mace is particularly humorous because it pushes enemies back, dealing tons of damage. But if the enemy goes off the side of the screen, the mace just sort of goes through them, and then it'll pull them into you when it comes back, and because there's no hit stun, it just instantly kills you because it deals all your damage.
Yep. And then final boss time here. Once again, a giant dragon. However, quite a bit different from the NES version here.
Yes, this one actually has a hitbox that makes sense.
Yep. This is boss. You really want to have some kind of speed ups because it makes it a lot easier to jump over that fire breath. And here's what happens: like when he starts like getting all stretchy with his neck, that's when he starts to get really scary here.
Yeah, that kills you instantly if you stay in it for any length of time, and sometimes it just seems to be unavoidable.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he just did there, he pushed into the corner. If he does that, there's like nothing you can do. I haven't found a way to like get around that because if you try to duck it, he'll still push into you.
Yeah, that's the magic of having no hit stun to all game developers out there. This is why you need it.
But that's the game. Now, this would not quite be game over if you were playing two-player. If you're playing two-player, then I think the two heroes got to fight each other for the princess.
Yep, they sure
Really?
do. And
Oh
you
shit,
even
double
get
dragon
a,
style.
Yeah, you even get a third ending if you both kill each other at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the princess is
Wow.
like, "Oh no, they both died," and it's pretty good. It's pretty excellent.
Game director Crazy Tom. That just says it all.
How fitting.
It just says it all.
Yep.
The presentation is insane. Like, some of the animation
Yeah.
of those bosses dying was just epic.
Yeah, this is like pretty much. Well, all three of these games are all the same team. Like, it's all pretty much all of the Athena guys. Like, it's a pretty small development studio, and you can see by this ending they were pretty good friends.
Are they flicking the... No, it can't be
Yes,
a middle
yes,
finger.
they
Yes,
are.
they are.
What, really?
Yep.
I'll go back
That
to
is
it.
that is the bonus. That is your reward for one CCing the game. That's a special screen you get.
Fuck you for playing this game.
Take it easy, man.
Always take it easy.
Yeah.
Good shit.
It's a crazy game.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it happened so quick. It's hard to take that in, but it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I know. There's like a lot of little stuff to that game that you just don't get time to think about because it's such a short arcade game.
Yeah.
Ooh, all right.
It said we do have the TAS.
Oh yes.
Yes, the TAS is just the most insane thing. Like, it's so crazy, dude. Your mind will be blown.
Plus, we should actually have sound on for this one, so you get to enjoy it. We didn't get to talk about this, but this game I always refer to it as kind of like the precursor to Guilty Gear in the sense of it being like anime and swords with a metal soundtrack. That's what you get here, and the recording quality on the soundtrack is special.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Very fitting of everything else in this game.
It was kind of
Yeah,
like
it's only slightly below 2002 ringtone quality.
Yeah, it's pretty special, but the actual composition's pretty metal. It's awesome.
Yep.
It's actually a really super good composer, Shotaro Sasaki, who did the music for Dio as well, for those who are shooting game fans watching.
cool. This run is by Nitro Genesis, and it's completed in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. This is the TAS. And let's get right into it. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
So you should be seeing a lot of general similarities here, but it's just going to focus on getting the speed boots. Obviously, won't be dying in this, so you can keep the speed the whole way. And also, I don't think we mentioned this, but jumping is faster, I believe, than walking on the ground.
Yeah, until you've picked up a certain amount of power-ups, it is faster. So that's why he jumps at the beginning and then pretty much doesn't jump very much after that. 'Cause it seems like it starts out at faster than movement, and then eventually they just sort of normalize so they're the same speed.
I'm surprised that those traps never fall down. That's what I don't understand how they get that. Is it just arcade manipulation or what?
No, they actually drop after a certain amount of time of you being near them. So if you're going fast enough, they just never fall in time. So you can just sort of run right under them.
I like. Aren't there supposed to be 2 Medusas for that boss fight?
No.
If you take too long on the stage 3 boss, it spawns a second Medusa on the left.
Oh, I've actually
makes
never
sense.
seen that.
Because I remember fighting 2 and was wondering, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a pretty great move on the developer's part.
Also, no one report us for Medusa tits.
I saw GTA 5 tits on my Twitch following thumbnails the other day. So
We're good then. We're good.
yeah.
Yeah, so I totally love how he just demolishes the stage 4 boss, like it's not even an issue. But if you've ever played this game, you'll realize the stage 4 boss is like the hardest thing ever.
Now this song is
really-
metal, so. Oh, it's over though.
Yeah, and you only hear it for like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Here's the third secret magic weapon, which is these blue rings he's shooting now, and I think it only spawns in this last stage.
Oh, secret one.
Oh.
Dude, that running animation when he's like doesn't have the armor on, that's badass.
Yeah, I think there's a song here. Yeah, there's the top comment. Fully armored, he's Guyver. Unarmored, Conan. This guy wins either way.
I like the little cutscenes in between the stages.
Also, shout-outs to blowing up
Wow,
people's
you kept
headphones.
like for the boss. Wow,
Yep.
that's the game.
Ooh.
There you go, folks.
Yep, that's it.
Warm sunlight came back to the Wiener Castle. Wiener Castle.
Nice.
Yeah, this arcade game is pretty nuts. It's definitely got that kind of feel of that era when anything went in arcade games.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, you got
pretty
the
much.
Medusa, but you also have like insane gore, over the top, like presentation.
Yeah,
That's what arcade games were all about back then.
it's a pretty typical Athena like style to just be over the top, and like all these crazy
Oh.
designs are very typical of this designer, Undead Tama.
I
Like
see.
just everything he's designed is all like just this crazy over the top like this.
It also reminds me of Wild Fang a bit, with the insane gore too. You know, I think that was the name of it, the Tecmo game.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
so
I guess that is pretty similar.
so yeah, that was the TAS of the arcade game. So FunkDoc, did you say you tried the TAS of the arcade one too, or just the NES?
No, just the NES.
Okay.
I had the high score record on MAME Action Replay for the arcade game for a while. On default settings, I didn't play on hardest, which is what IAST did.
Yep.
What was the score run like?
It's pretty similar, honestly, except I tried to balance grabbing the power-ups with speed, because you do get a good, significant bonus for time left at the end of stages. So I just tended to basically like try to grab a bunch of power-ups, but do it as quickly as I could, and that's how I did that. You could probably improve it further, just more optimizing speed, perhaps.
But you get more points for going faster?
Yes, because of the bonus you get for time left at the end of the stage. It's pretty big in that game.
Oh, cool, cool. For once, the time bonus actually like pushes you over. It's on.
Oh,
in the
it's
game.
a huge deal in that.
Oh, cool, cool. Sweet. Okay, so we are actually covering a second game, and that is the sequel, what's it called? Sword Master.
Sword Master. So this one, unlike Castle of Dragon, was only made for the NES, and it was made and it was released in 1991 by the same team. But this was a time when the NES was really heading toward irrelevance, more or less, as the Genesis and SNES were out by then. So this is a time when developers were really focusing on upping the ante with the technology in NES games to try to keep up with the 16-bit consoles. And Swordmaster is a game that really shows that off well. It's visually one of the most impressive NES games, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
And it keeps a similar core gameplay from Castle of Dragon in that it's mostly moving to the right, focusing on fighting mini-bosses and bosses, but they do a lot more interesting stuff with it. You have a lot more variety in moves, you have more options, there's even a second character you can switch to. And it also there's the experience level, which I haven't mentioned this, but the NES Castle of Dragon uses experience as well. Like, it has an experience system, which is the meter to the right of your health bar in NES Castle of Dragon, but in that game, all experience levels did was just increase your max health, nothing else. In this game, you use your experience for magic, and we'll talk about magic as we get into it. But yes.
Cool.
There's just-
okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
But yeah, a lot going on with this game. We'll get into it as we play through the tests.
All right. All right, here we go. This is the NES Sword Master TS by Ventuz, VNTUZ, and 5 minutes and 14 seconds. It's about all the info we need. All right, let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, go.
So you're going to see some really, you're just going to see this with the parallax scrolling backgrounds. Like, there's a lot of neat stuff if you watch. Like, pay attention to the backgrounds and the graphics in this game. It's worth it. But here we go. So the normal enemies in this game actually give you experience, which it didn't in Castle of Dragons, so already they mean a lot more. And we have your generic skeleton, same as before. Also jumping. So you have a few different types of sword strikes you can use in this. You can crouch and sword strike, you have your regular standing sword strike, and you have an overhead strike with up plus attack, and that's the strongest one. You can do all of those while jumping as well. And this game also blocking things with your shield, that's a new thing added. So you can block a lot of projectiles, like high projectiles you can block by holding up, for instance. Mid projectiles you can block just by standing, and you can crouch to block low things. Anyway, second stage. So there's these stages, which are not mini-boss based. Instead, the normal enemies give you a lot more experience, and they're more platforming based.
Yeah, so I don't. We didn't mention this in the arcade replays that we watched, but that blocking mechanic is also in the arcade Castle of Dragon.
I was gonna say.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So beating the second boss there, and yes, bosses cannot turn around in this game. So if you can jump behind them, you're good to go.
Nice.
That's pretty quality.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot here. But your reward for beating the second boss is you get magic, which is that staff icon you see. With this, you can pause and switch to a mage from your regular knight. The original spell, the starting spell you get there with the staff is a fireball that you can charge up. And it's just your basic, throw it straightforward fireball, charge it up to do more damage. Magic uses your experience meter. And experience also builds up your max health, so you have to balance building up your health versus using magic throughout the course of the game. The bosses in this game are really tricky if you don't know about this going behind them stuff. They tend to block a lot of your attacks and counter really well, and they're annoying. Also, one of the main things that makes this game difficult for speedrunning is the double and triple jumping. So,
yeah, I was just about to ask you to explain that, because I don't know how that works.
Yes, I know exactly how it works, because I learned about tasking the game, and it's really annoying. So, jumping is faster than walking in this game, and you can double and even triple jump in this game. However, in order to do that, you have to tap the A button super lightly to get another jump. You cannot hold it for any longer than 2 frames.
Wow.
You can only have A held for 1 or 2 frames to get another jump. So you have to tap it for 1 or 2 frames to get a double jump, and then for the double jump, you have to tap that for 1 or 2 frames to get a triple jump out of it.
And it doesn't go any further than triple?
Correct.
Wow.
Well, that's cool.
So that's intentional then.
Yes.
That
is an intentional mechanic on their part.
I like that.
That's pretty insane.
Yep.
Oh, you changed
So
characters.
now we see the mage here. So this
wow.
is the faster paced fire spell, and then also you get the lightning for being that one. So that's 3 of the 4 spells here. There are 4 total in the game. Also, check this out. So
Wow.
you can damage boost from that one to go up top, and you can just jump past everything in this level until the boss. I figured that out when I first tasked this game, and I thought it might actually be slower, but I kept it in there anyway for the task just because it was a lot cooler and it was barely any slower, but it turns out, I guess, it's actually faster after. So using magic is the main way a normal player will be fighting these bosses if you don't know about the jumping behind enemies trick. So now this is the final level, and just wait to see how long this is and how many mini-bosses and old like main level bosses recycled that you fight here. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. It's like the coolest thing in any game where you just like go through a gauntlet of everything at the last stage.
Yep.
It's so climactic.
So one issue I do have with this game, the spells, as you notice, there's not really a whole lot of variety in what they do. They're all pretty simple projectiles that you can charge up for like a big all-screen attack, or else just higher damage version of the normal one or something. The main difference really with the spells is just how quick their firing rate is, how much damage they do, and what the charge attack is like. So, as I recall, Lightning is the strongest overall one, particularly with its charge version. When I did the taps, I remember using the charge lightning on the final boss, but I think this one handles it much differently, and that was one of the big improvements over mine. So this is the beginning of the final series of bosses. There's 3 of them, and this is the first form of this guy. Again, same trick there. He's annoying to deal with if you don't know about jumping behind him. That version's easy, actually. He just floats around, throws fireballs, and you can do a lot of damage to him with overhead swings, though. And yeah, so he still does the same thing. He uses the charge lightning for final boss.
Damn.
And I believe that is the game. Yes.
Wow.
Jeez.
It's the game. So that final boss, it shoots a lot of lightning that's really hard to avoid, if not unavoidable, and you have to wait for the weak spot to be open, I think, or else it has a lot of HP as well, so the lightning charge comes in handy there. There is another spell that the TAS did not pick up just because, well, it's useless. I wonder if Stooge Tom is the same person as Crazy Tom.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Like, pretty much all the Athena games are programmed by a guy named Tom and then some other crazy nickname part. It's kind of silly. And it's also designed by Undead Tama, as I mentioned earlier, all their stuff by him. And this ending screen actually doesn't look like this normally. It flickers between the actual credits and a background image like every other frame, so it'll give you like an epileptic fit if you're susceptible to that. It's pretty quality.
Oh man, so that was Swordmaster for you. So that game essentially was NES Castle of Dragon done right. It keeps the same basic formula, but adds some more a little more variety in other platforming-focused stages, and gives you a lot more moves and abilities to fight the bosses and mini-bosses with, which really helps out the game a lot, I think. And it also, just the improvements in the graphics and everything. I cannot believe that those games were only released 2 years apart. NES Castle Dragon and Swordmaster, just compare them. They look like they belong on completely different consoles almost.
Yeah, it's like, even if you look at Athena's arcade games, the difference in quality from 89 to 91 is pretty insane. Like, at some point they just really stepped up their game and made some really, really good games. Like, from 1990 onwards is just loads and loads of great games from them. But pretty much everything before that is just total garbage.
Yep. Shoutouts to the Squawk.
Yes, shoutouts to JJ Squawkers.
Oh, okay.
Dio.
Dio? Okay.
Let's see, what else?
Because when I hear Athena, I don't know what game to like identify them with. But if they did Dio and
Yep,
JJ,
they did
then
Dio.
I might as well associate them with those games.
Yeah, they also did the Dazemon series, which is like a create-your-own shmup thing for NES and Super NES and Saturn. Like, they've done a whole bunch of stuff, but pretty much if you're looking for quality from them, try not looking at all their output before about 1990, because you'll be disappointed.
Okay, so that's like all the footage we got through. Did you want to talk more about Athena at all, or what else? What do we want to end this episode on?
Play
Like,
more Athena games. Like,
okay.
that's pretty much it. Like, they did so much good stuff, and like their designs are always just totally off the wall insanity. So, like, Undead Tama is like crazy. Like, he's so good at all his designs. They're just the most insane stuff, and like the actual artwork from most of the Athena stuff pretty much all the time is always like super well detailed, aside from that hand we saw at Arcade Castle Dragon. Like, that's probably the worst bit I've seen from them, but they're so quality. Everyone should check them out. They're a very hidden developer.
Yep. They're kind of like a smaller scale version of a like late 80s up through the 90s Taito, who's like my favorite developer of all time, probably. So I'm definitely with Trap on that one. That's just, I'm a big fan of, you know, off the wall surrealist aesthetics in my games, especially if, you know, there's actual effort put into the game itself, like to give it some sort of variety or something interesting to go along with that. I mean, just give me all that and I'm in heaven. So I'm very much on board with that message. And even as far as the NES ones go, I mean, I definitely recommend giving Swordmaster a try if you haven't. It's just a very interesting snapshot of the late era NES in terms of what you got visually and how much they were trying to add on to earlier established simple formulas to try to keep them relevant in that era with the 16-bit games coming in.
You know, it definitely has its own unique look as far as those late NES games go. Like, it's got its own look. I like it. I like it. Like, Batman got its own look. During Asilius looks a bit different. A lot of those like later games it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the SNES game and no more NES games.
Yep. Oh, actually, speaking of SNES, there's another Athena game on there called Biometal, which is
Yes!
quite excellent.
Oh shit, that's been
shit.
softly
I
requested.
forgot about Biometal.
Yeah. So if you're gonna play Biometal, make sure to play the Super Famicom version because
No.
because the SNES version replaces all the music with like pop 90s rave music. It is just like the worst garbage ever. And then the Super Famicom soundtrack is like this really like solemn, like dark soundtrack by Yoshio Nagashima that's just totally out of this world amazing. And then the SNES version is just total like fucking it's such a travesty, dude.
A travesty? Shit. I give me a shmup with the goddamn like game time music from Space Jam any day. Like, no, seriously, that's what they use for the title screen music in that game. It's literally that. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I'm trying to pop it up right now.
Yeah.
That's the actual music in that game.
Here, I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show it real quick.
Fuck what Trap has to say.
I got it on the stream right now, so we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, as System 11 said, they also made Strike Gunner STG, but that is a terrible game. Like, it's got cool designs like all other Athena games, but it's just total garbage to play. Don't even bother.
It's funny. We had Strike Gunner STG when my brother and I were kids, and we actually played the heck out of that for some reason. Like, he wouldn't play a lot of games with me, but that was one of the few that he would, and we'd actually play co-op and beat the game. I guess since it's really friggin' easy as far as shmups go, so I guess that's something that he could hang with.
Yeah, it's definitely easy, but it's so jank.
Yeah, and it's sad because I love the concept of that game, which is, for those who don't know, in Strike Gunner STG, you have a set of something like 20 weapons or so, and you get to choose, or they're sub-weapons to go along with your main gun. There's like 20 different ones or something like that, and each stage you could get to pick one of them, and then you cannot use it again for the rest of the game. So all of them you can only pick once. So that's a really neat concept in itself, and that's the sort of thing I wish we would see more. I love that, but the actual game itself just does not hold up with it at all.
This was an SNES game?
Yes.
Yeah, it's SNES and arcade. The arcade version is pretty special. I'm still not sure whether I think it's better or worse than the SNES version, but they're both pretty jank. So I mean, if you're into janky games with cool designs, you might as well check out both of them.
Yeah, I played Biometal a little bit. It's actually a pretty good game from what I could tell.
Yeah, Biometal is totally legit. Like,
totally
that is
legit.
Actually quality game, and really
it's impressive actually.
Yeah, it's got tons of huge sprites. Like, I mean, it does slow down a fair bit, but it's very playable. It's very fun. It's one of the better SNES shooters just in general. Even.
Yeah, it stands out for sure. Cool. Well, we've entered into Biometal territory, so looks like we can wrap up the show. This was really cool to check out these games. Thanks, Funkdoc and Iast, for coming on, of course.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me on, as always. Always a good time.
Yeah, this was pretty fun.
I ain't got much else to say. I mean, Biometal's playing its like Space Jam song right now, so. Alright, so that's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for coming out, and till next time on Awesome Game Replays. This was number 9 for Swordmaster and Castle of Dragon / Dragon Unit on the Arcade NES. So, till next time, later, everyone.